What's up, guys? Just wanted to introduce a new car to the YouTube series. This is a new to me 2013 Sentra SL, which is the luxury trim. And I'm going to be doing some videos on what it's like to maintain and use this as a commuter. I bought it for a commuter and a backup car for my driving kids. And I got a really good deal on it, so it's just going to be fun to kind of maintain it and whatnot. It has 75,000 miles, super good condition, dealer maintained, one owner. I'm going to be doing things like adding CarPlay and maybe tint the windows, just some basic aesthetics and then some maintenance. So stay tuned for this series to see some additions and maintenance work. I know these CVT transmissions are a grenade waiting to happen. So if that goes, I plan on repairing that as well myself. So I don't expect it to anytime soon, but you never know. So as part of my post or pre-purchase inspection, I like to just give the interior a good once over, make sure all the cigarette lighters work. This one I plugged in a USB-C port, and then I added a MagSafe charger here. The interior on this car is really nice. There were other floor mats on top of the original, so these are in pretty good condition. Cloth seats are nice. And if you're new to Nissan, they have a ton of room. I mean, I think compared to like a Toyota, this is probably more in line with a Corolla than a Camry. Nissan's version of the Camry would probably be the Altima or Maxima, but this feels like the size of a Camry. I have one of those too, and it feels just like it. But the instrument cluster is pretty nice. At night, it glows a nice white, has a decent menu. You click this button here to go through the different menu options. Shows like average fuel economy and whatnot. Pretty basic. And to be honest, this is the SL trim, not the top of the line SL trim that would have had a sunroof and I think heated seats and some kind of leather-like interior. But it did come with a good stereo. It has a subwoofer, or at least it sounds like it, in the back. So I'm happy that when I replace this head unit, the speakers will still be there because it's definitely nice. I also think this is pretty nice for its age. It looks real smooth. The buttons don't show wear. I've had newer cars where buttons show a lot more wear. This doesn't show any, literally. So pretty happy with that. Like I said earlier, it has rear LED lights, which is pretty good for the year. Let's go inside. I'll show you the trunk space. So this trunk, I mean, it doesn't come across on camera, but it's cavernous. I don't know what the actual dimensions are. You could probably look it up, but it's huge. Really a ton of space. And then you lift this up. I won't do it, but you can see it has a save a spare, which is great. Any kind of spare these days is appreciated. And again, I was mentioning the interior volume of this car. This car has so much legroom. I'm 5'10", and I'm obviously usually in the driver's seat, and that seat is pretty far back. And you can see here, probably doesn't do it justice, but I've got a ton of room. It feels so roomy. And again, that's with these almost all the way back, so no problems here. As part of my inspection when I get a new car, I always look at the battery. Battery looks pretty good. It looks like the date code is December of 2024, so that should be good. A little low on antifreeze, so I'm going to top that off in a second. No obvious leaks. Motor mounts don't look cracked, and if I did have to replace them, super easy. A couple bolts, support the engine, no problem. The belt looks okay from what I can tell, but I'm going to replace it anyway, so I'll make sure to do a video on that. No hose cracks or anything like that. The brake fluid is at an okay level, but I'm going to check the quality of it and probably flush it when I do the pads and shoes. All right, you can hardly see where you're supposed to fill the coolant up to, so let me show you what you're looking for. You can kind of see it back here where the tip of this light is. I don't know why they would put the markings there, but you'll see a minimum and maximum. Right kind of where the tip of that light is the maximum, and so you can kind of see that there's fluid in there maybe. All right, if you work on your own car, you should definitely have one of these brake fluid testers. It tests the moisture content, which is what makes fluid need flushing. Don't let a dealer tell you you need to flush your fluid without testing. Most of the time it's usually okay, but this one is needing changing. So what you do is you dip it in here, hit this button. So like this is what it would look like if it were okay. What does it say here? Yeah, so that needs replacing. Okay, so we're okay on fluids now. There's no power steering pump because this is an electric steering rack, which is great. One less thing to sap the engine of power and have to deal with fluid changes. So the only other thing that I would do under the hood here, at some point I'm going to change the 4 coil packs and spark plugs back here. They're pretty easy to get to, and it's an inexpensive maintenance item, which is probably about due. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of clean this area up a little bit. Nothing crazy, just get some of the dirt and dust off so I can keep an eye on if there's any leaks or anything. All right, here's how it turned out. I basically just sprayed quick detailer everywhere and just kind of wiped the surfaces a little bit so there's not as much dirt. All right, here it is with the cover on. You can see it looks much better. So if you're ever selling a car or flipping a car, just checking the fluids and doing a nice wipe down is a good nod to the next owner that, you know, that you took care of it. So if you're interested in that, or if you know what you're doing, if you don't, you know, take it somewhere, ask them to clean the engine bay. This is the washer fluid. It's the last fluid item. It's working okay, but I'm just going to top it off. So I don't need to show you that because I can't hold the camera, but you just pour it in there. Let's see how we get this filter out. Start with the obvious, right? There's some clips. Let's see if it gives us enough room. Of course not. All right. That wasn't too bad. Filter looks dirty, but not crazy. All right. Another easy thing you can do at home. I think this filter was like $12 or something. There we go. Just got to line everything back up. Air filter's done. Now we're going to do the cabin filter. And I would venture to guess this has either never been done or not done very frequently. And I say that because this is the biggest pain in the ass cabin filter I've ever seen. Usually you open the glove box, kind of squeeze these, and then drop this. And then there's like some sort of panel for the filter. This one, you have to remove the whole box. So you're going to start with 3 Phillips down here, and I'll point them out to you. There's one right here that just fell out because I started loosening it. Here and here. So let's start with that. Now when you first look at them, it looks like there's no way to get a screwdriver in there, but they're angled down, so it'll be okay. And so far they're all the same size. I like to keep track of that. Okay, now you open the glove box and do the 3 screws on top. Also same size, so they're interchangeable. Okay, then you just sort of lift it out. Let's see here. There you go. So after that whole box comes out, you have to disconnect the light. This is the light for the inside of the glove box. Okay, let's move this somewhere else. So this right here is the door. There's supposed to be like a button. It's not a button, but like a latch. And usually I see that, but I don't see it on this one. So let me show you what I'm doing here. So you see on the bottom, this clip. Usually you could take your finger and pry it down and it pops out, but it was just a little hard. So think I'll use the same pliers. Wow. Jesus. This is the weirdest cabin filter I've ever seen. I watched another video on this too, and it literally does take a filter that's bigger than the hole that you gotta like shove in there. That makes no sense at all. STP CAF 1875P, but you can look it up on Amazon if you want a different brand. All right, so these arrows here are going this way. You want it like this, so the airflow goes towards the back of the car, which is this way. This is insane. It's so tight in there. I guess you gotta squeeze it like this. Crazy. I guess it's not that hard, but it's just weird. Usually these things are so much easier. Here's what it looks like. Once I squeezed it and I kind of let it go, it kind of took the shape of the inside of that compartment. All vacuumed up. Let's put this back together. All right, perfect. And continuing with the inspection, I'm going to take the front wheel off and check the brakes and suspension and axles and look for any obvious leaks. I didn't see anything when I was under there doing the oil, but just want to go through it anyway. Then if I need to order brakes, I'll do that and bleed the brakes at the same time. Plenty of life on them. See if you can see that in there. Something went wrong with my audio and footage here, so I'm just going to speak over it. But basically, the pads looked great. The rotors could use replacing, but all in all, these products are pretty cheap. So I'll probably just replace it all in a little bit of time. And then I'll do the brake fluid as well. And then as I go into the car here, you'll see I'm looking at like tie rod ends, axle shafts. I know it's the world's worst footage here, but there were no tears or grease or anything. All the sockets and joints looked great. So pretty much what you'd expect for 75,000 miles. Another thing you should do is when the wheel's off the ground, grab it from the top and bottom and do this. You're checking for wheel bearing play, and then left to right for tie rod play. This one's solid. In the back now, took the wheel off. These are drum brakes, which most people hate, but you don't have to replace the backs that often. So, you know, if they're not good, I'll replace them. But I had to use a little bit of a pry bar to kind of start shimmying this out from the bottom top, that kind of thing. And make sure, obviously, your parking brake is off. And let's see what this looks like. So, not bad. I'll probably not replace them for now. Here's a few millimeters. And again, these wear a lot slower. They could be replaced, but we'll see. I think when I do the brake fluid flush, I'll probably just do all the brakes at the same time. I mean, none of them are bad, but it would be nice to get a fresh start. This looks pretty filthy in here. And then the drum itself, I'll just dump out some of this excess dust before I put it back on. You don't want to breathe any of this stuff either, so don't sit here and blow it out. Just go dump it. If you do blow it out, get a respirator mask on or whatever. And then everything else in the back is pretty basic on a front-wheel drive car. I mean, I guess as they get older, you could look for damaged brake lines and any kind of leaks from the gas tank or anything like that. Coil suspension not looking lined up, but this all looks really good. All right, I'm going to change the wipers on my 2013 Sentra. I have the push button start. I think there's more than one procedure depending on which car you have. So I'll go through both of them, but ultimately all of this is certainly in the service manual that's probably in your glove box. So for this version, the car has to be off, okay? And what you do is you literally just pull back on the stock that would normally spray fluid, and do that for, it says in the manual 5 seconds, but it took like a second when I tried it. So watch this. And that's it. Now you go do the wipers. Let's do that. And I'll show you how that part is done. Okay. And then for the actual wiper blade, when we pull them up, the actual hook, you'll see there's a tab, number 4. Push that towards the upper right of my screen. And we'll go do that and I'll show you. Now on some cars, maybe it's the key version, you turn it to the on position, which is the last position before starting. So the lights are all on, and then you lift this up twice and it should stop like that. So one of these methods should work for you. All right, so the mechanism is going to vary based on the manufacturer, right? And you can always look at the instructions for your specific wipers. But for the car, this is the hook, so that's not going to change. So for this one, you go in here like this, and then push it into this area and click like that. And then this locks it in. And that's it. Same for both sides. So, all right, put these back down. And then to reset it, just start the car and turn on the wipers. That's it. All right, another thing I like to do when I buy a car is just run through all the trouble codes, if there are any, or stored ones. So we're gonna do that here. I hit diagnostics. Auto detect. Diagnosis. Auto scan. If you were just getting like an engine trouble code, you could just do that particular control module. But since I just bought this car, I kind of want to have it scan everything. And this does take a while sometimes, depending on the car's computer. So just one. So BCM, let's see what that says. Oh, probably tire pressure monitor, because sometimes those don't get reset. And it actually was just recently low on pressure and the light was on. So I'm gonna go with that. What I'll do is I will do a quick erase on everything and then see if anything pops back up. So like if you just wanted to scan engine codes, you would just look at engine and it would go faster than scanning the whole car. Anyway, if you don't have one of these, you know, more expensive Bluetooth units, you can get cheap handheld ones that do a lot of the same functionality for, you know, basic car ownership. I like this because it's bi-directional. I could bleed brakes and do a bunch of other stuff like ABS related and transmission stuff, but it wasn't that expensive. It was like $500, and I think sometimes these go up to thousands of dollars depending on what you need to do. But you can also get a cheap $20 handheld one, and it's really helpful.